Before I begin this video, I just want to say that I've officially moved into the new place and I'm ready to begin production for my 1000 subscribers special, but I need your help. There is a community post that would benefit greatly from your input. I'll be trying to get that done over the next month, but for now, take another video of me over analyzing box office numbers because I'm too busy to do anything else right now, so it is what it is. Superhero cinema has been a cornerstone for the movie industry for what feels like forever, with its peaking out culture or zeitgeist happening right before COVID hit, when we got Endgame, but now it feels like the genre is in this endgame, with both DC and Marvel struggling to reach those same heights. The MCU mainly struggling only recently with films like The Marvels, Eternals, and Ant-Man 3 showcasing a lack of interest for their new ideas, and a lot of their recent films showing this I have no idea what to do next tone, with a lot of these reshot disasters that try to set up the next thing that even the leaders of Marvel have no idea where it's going. DC, on the other hand, has been struggling in the theaters since Snyderverse started, with so many disappointments and major flops, and at this point it's reached its major breaking point, and this July was the month that was going to really showcase the future of this genre. Major superhero blockbusters from both DC and Marvel were basically gonna duke it out, with DC releasing James Gunn's Superman, which was very much hyped up beforehand, as James Gunn is known for having banger after banger. He truly understands what makes these movies spark, and because of that, he was given a bigger role in the DCU. More on that later. We also got a Fantastic Four movie that took place in a completely different universe, not particularly being a reset, but being separate from everything else so it can have its main focus be on these iconic characters. These movies were poised to be the biggest films of the year, other than Ne Zha 2, which, nothing's beating Ne Zha 2, except for maybe Avatar 3. Either way, they were definitely supposed to bring superheroes back to the main front. Enough of this silly Minecraft movie or remake hell. We are officially back! Or are we? Superman performed pretty well considering this is a complete new beginning, movie-wise, unless Blue Beetle is a part of the DCU, and I guess Peacemaker if we count TV shows. Anyways, Superman movies tend to get a lot of flack because of how people don't care about Superman, as they see him as this boring plate that is just invincible and overpowered. That's probably because of Zack Snyder, but you could probably also think that to Injustice as well. This movie takes Superman back to the times where he's a lot more relatable as a person, and the world around him is more in line with the comics. A lot more wacky and zany, with some pretty intriguing concepts that make for a very fun time in the theaters. It wasn't perfect, but it showcased that James Gunn truly has a vision for this universe, and that is incredible to see. People reacted very pleasantly to this film in ways I haven't seen for a DC movie since the Batman trilogy that Christopher Nolan did. Although people also really enjoyed the Batman directed by Matt Reeves, I don't want to take away from that movie because I also really like it. This showed in the box office numbers, as even though it's not going to be Batman v Superman and Man of Steel in worldwide numbers because superhero movies no longer dominate that way, it will beat them in domestic numbers. Superman is currently on its way to 350 million plus, easily beating them in that way, even though it had a much lower opening than Batman v Superman. This is because of the strong word of mouth, which led to these monstrous legs leading to the win. This is a very important milestone because of the Superman movie being a starting point to a new franchise. It needed to at least match what the previous Superman movies did, even with those being critical failures because of how it led to future bad box office numbers in the end. This being positively received by fans and critics is as important as the box office numbers, and it is getting good in both, which is a great thing for James Gunn and whatever he prepares for the future of DC. Fantastic Four, on the other hand, is a little more complicated. The MCU has had way more movies in their universe than DC has in their DCEU, which made explaining DC's situation easier because I can compare it just fine, but with this, it's just different. The MCU this year, though, has definitely shown signs of a bleak future, and with the constant back and forth in the news of the next Avengers movie, it's getting worrying. First off, as I'm writing this, none of the MCU movies this year have even reached $500 million, with Fantastic Four being the only one that's going to scrape by it. Last year, Deadpool and Wolverine killed it at the box office, with their nostalgia bait bullshit, but now that the new era of Marvel was supposed to show this new stuff and not old shit, even though Captain America 4 was a whole tribute, it's not showing as much promise as Disney probably hoped for. Fantastic Four was going to be the ultimate turning point for whether or not people were still excited for Marvel, since it features these iconic characters that people love, and it was going to be the best selling out of the whole bunch this year. But how much bigger it was going to be was essential in what it says about the future of the MCU. And although I enjoyed Fantastic Four as an experience, as it felt very refreshing to see a movie that actually felt finished and have it stand on its own within its extended franchise, with even its post-credit scene not overpromising or under-delivering, I did have trouble really getting into it because Superman came right before it, and that completely blew my expectations out of the water, while Fantastic Four played to the MCU's strength, which makes it feel a little too safe at times, which, seems people are getting tired of since the box office numbers really show bad signs. The opening weekend for Fantastic Four was definitely showing potential, but ended up dropping very hard every weekend afterwards, illustrating that people were just not excited for this, not even one bit. People are very much fatigued at this franchise, and I can't blame them. There were two movies that all did their own thing, that connected to each other, that then connected to this one with multiple other shows that may or may not connect to these movies as well. People were already showing that they were tired of this way of film schedules, and it seemed like Marvel finally understood that with the release of Deadpool and Wolverine being able to finally breathe throughout the year. But now we have this mess of a movie that's filled with botched writing and weird rewrites, and this movie that features a bunch of characters that nobody really cares about. And even though people did like that one, branding it to the new Avengers, to which nobody cared even more, really showcases that the excitement for another movie coming 2 months after it is just absolutely low, even if it features beloved characters. It may have worked before, but seeing this mixed bag of ideas thrown at people and then saying it's all connected to something for years makes people tired of trying to keep up, and they know this, and yet they allow it to happen. And now here we are. The DCU might just beat their ass soon enough if nothing continues to change, and I continue to lose excitement the more and more I hear about the next Avengers movie. I don't even know what's happening with that, and I truly can't care less. All this to say, the film landscape has changed so much since COVID, and it's really finally starting to show, with Marvel really struggling to maintain any kind of consistency, while DC shows more promise than ever before, even with how badly it ended before James Gunn took over. But overall, this is the first year since a superhero movie failed to be a breakout hit, which feels incredibly weird. Like, how in the world is Superman, that didn't even outgross The Man of Steel, the biggest superhero movie of the year at only $600 million? You tell me this 6 years ago at Marvel's peak and I would not believed you. But the fall of the MCU is a whole other story involving years and years of bad decisions trying to replicate the success of Endgame. I think there is a whole different elephant in the room that I need to address. Streaming. Of course I have to bring up streaming. It is the main player right now in regards to popular media because of the abundance of shows and movies coming out every single day. Theaters have already been struggling due to COVID, but we can all agree the ability to easily watch movies at home exacerbates the problems of the current landscape. We barely see breakout hits in general, but it even seems like certain genres of film are just straight up dead because they are, quote, streaming shit. Why pay 10 to 20 bucks depending on the region for an experience that could be bad for something I can easily do at home with something that's gonna come out the month after its release anyways? We see companies that taught their audience to just wait for streaming releases really struggle to make any kind of money in the theater now, and we see this trend continue with superhero movies, especially considering they always flood the market. Like, God, there are so many Marvel movies. Why not just wait a couple months and then boom, there they all are? Unless they are a major cultural event like Sinners or Weapons or an IMAX experience like F1, what's the point? It's why we see mid-budget films struggle heavily nowadays. Those are the ultimate streaming films according to consumers. Now I know superhero movies aren't streaming films and they still make a ton of money that they couldn't make on streaming services, but we can't expect these movies to still continue to gain interest in audiences because of all of these elements put together. Oversaturation, and difference in markets with a hint of shit's too expensive nowadays. The conclusion is that DC might just save this genre with the amount of hype they're getting by really fleshing out the comic feel of these movies, maybe reigniting the excitement for these movies, while Marvel probably will spectacularly fail with that Avengers film. I mean, who knows, maybe they cook something that's really good and this year ends up being a fluke like with the failure of the Marvels or in the Eternals, but time is gonna tell, and either way, I surely will be seated at any of these movies because, in my opinion, they always provide a fun time nonetheless. Except for Ant-Man 3. I hope you enjoyed my ranty video. I'm excited to make videos once again. I have one cooking up for the furries, so y'all specifically, if you made it this far, y'all need to help me with this community post. Please!